Hi, my name is Braden Corliss. I'm the Director of Discipleship here at First Church, and I have our Taking It Home Devo for today. So, when I was thinking about David's message and this whole phrase of when we let Jesus into our heart, he'll transform us, or when we let Jesus into us, he'll transform us. When we let him out, he'll transform the world. And as I'm thinking about that, that's so true. But what are the things that are keeping us from wanting to let Jesus into our lives and then to let Jesus out of our lives? And as I've been contemplating this, as I've been thinking about it, I think sometimes it's fear. It's a fear of what Jesus is going to do in us. And then once he's done it in us, it's a fear of what he's going to do when we let him out. Sometimes it can be really scary and uncertain about where Jesus will call us. And actually, sometimes it can be really clear where he'll call us, and that can be really scary. It can cause us to fear. Jesus lived a life, a very radical life. He lived a life where he lived without a home. He lived on the road. He lived where he was going from place, relying on people to provide for him. And then eventually he dies on the cross in a very painful way. And so when we ask this question, what's it look like when we let living water, when we let Jesus into our life, what does it look like to be transformed by him? And I think many of us do know the true consequence of letting Jesus into our life. It means our life is going to look like Jesus. And that's a life. That's a life that is scary. That's a life that is filled with uncertainty. And then when we think about that, we've gotten past this. We've gotten into the point where, yes, I want Jesus in my life, and I do want that transformation. But then once we're being transformed and we see, well, how can I let Jesus out of my life? That fear can rise again, because we begin to think, well, Jesus went to the poor, and Jesus, he asked the Father to heal, and people were healed. He preached the good news. Who am I? I don't know if I can do that. There's a fear that the Lord won't provide those things for us when we let him out, when we enter into this kingdom work with him. I think about the widow at Zarephath. And if you're not familiar with the story, it comes from 2 Kings. And in this story, Elijah comes to this woman and asks for water and asks for bread. And she responds with, I don't even have anything. I was going to cook one last meal for myself and my son, and we were going to die. They were in the midst of a drought. But Elijah says, go and do what you're going to do, but make some bread for me first. And so she goes and she does it, and this oil and this bread, this flour, never run out through this whole drought. She lets the person of God, Elijah, into her life, and God provides, even though she's not 100% sure how that might look. As we think about this, and we think about with school starting, there's a whole lot of unknowns. A whole lot of unknowns about what it's going to look like. When we let Jesus into our life, those unknowns are there too. But there's a place where those unknowns have a rest, where we find this place of home and refuge in the fact that things are unknown. Not in the realities that we know everything, that we know things are going to be for certain, but rest in the fact that we are at home when we are with Jesus, when we have let him into our life. And home has a lot of different connotations. It doesn't just mean a place of complete and total rest. There is conflict that takes place at home, but we know that home can be a refuge away from the torrents of life. So as you consider this, as you consider what it looks like to let Jesus into your life to transform you, and you consider what it looks like to see what it looks like when Jesus comes from you and transforms our world, what are those things that you fear might happen when you let him do that? Do you fear that you won't have the things and the ability to actually do the things Jesus wants you to do? Do you fear that Jesus is going to take you into a very uncomfortable place? All these fears are real, but we have to take account of them to know how and where we are having Jesus at. What step have we made it into the water? Are we ankle deep? Are we knee deep? And what's keeping us from being led further and further into this relationship with Jesus? When we take those risks with Jesus, when we ask ourselves, what do we fear and why are we not taking these steps, we can begin to examine those things. So I pray and I hope that as you take this Devo, as you take this word, you will begin to sit with Jesus in silence and in solitude to ask him, what am I fearful that you will do in me, Jesus? What am I fearful that you will do in me? And what am I fearful that you will ask me to do when I partner with you? So go today knowing that he seeks your transformation. He wants what's best for you. And he wants to be called your home.